What we're talking about today is lesson 87, factoring polynomials by grouping. Whenever you're doing these problems, you are going to be reminded of whenever we are factoring polynomials, trinomials actually, and we have to multiply A and C. Okay, this will be very similar to that process, and you'll see what I mean here in just a minute. So, on example 1, it wants us to factor this and then check our answer. And it already says by grouping. So what we're going to do is we're going to group the first two and the last two. And remember, if there's a plus out here, we leave it out here. If it's a negative, we have to take it with it and write the plus between. And I think we'll have an example like that in a minute. So what can I factor out of these two terms that I have grouped together? Well, I see that 5 will go into both evenly and that there's an x in both. So I'm taking out a 5x. If I divide out 5x from 5x squared, I'm left with just x plus 10 divided by 5 is 2. That x came out and I'm left with y. Plus, what can I factor out of these two evenly? Well, I can factor out a 3 because they're both divisible by 3. So if I take out a 3, the 3 came out, the x is still there. 6 divided by 3 is 2, and that y is still there. So now I have these two terms, and this is where it looks very similar to factoring those trinomials, because I have the same thing here and here, so I'm going to factor those out. I have x plus 2y, and then in the other set of parentheses I'm going to write what's left, which is 5x plus 3. This is my final answer. Okay, so they wanted us to check it, which we can do. The opposite of factoring is FOILing. So we're going to take first x times 5x gives us 5x squared. Outside gives us plus 3x. Inside gives us 2 times 5 is 10. xy, because x and y are both there. And last gives us plus 2 times 3 is 6. Tack on the y. So this is the same as this. The only difference is that these two are switched around. But they have the correct signs, so it's fine. So it checks. This one, same exact thing. I'm going to start by grouping my first two and grouping my last two. Now remember, I can't leave this as just parentheses because it looks like I'm multiplying that way, and I'm not. I gotta put that plus between. It doesn't change my value. So I'm going to factor whatever I can out of both of these. There's not a number that divides into both evenly, but I can take out an x squared. I'm going to take out x squared from both terms. Leaves me with 5 in the first term minus 12. X to the third, take out x to the second, I'm left with x. On this one, normally I would say whenever we have this negative, we need to factor that out, right? But what I want you to recognize is what's going on right here. Okay, these look almost exactly the same, right? Except for I could write this the other way around. So I could have plus, and then this could be 5 minus 12x. Okay, well now you tell me, well there's nothing that I can factor out. All I did was switch these, by the way. But that's not true, because everything is always divisible by 1. So I'm going to say plus 1. And then I'm going to rewrite this the way I have it there. Okay, so now I have these two terms. And notice this and this are now the same. So I'm going to factor those out. So I have 5 minus 12x. And then in the other set of parentheses, I'm going to write what's left, which is that x squared plus 1. Okay? I want you at this time at your desks to FOIL this out. And then I want 2 people to go to the board and show me your work to prove that it checks. So whoever my sub is, please pause the video and have them do that. Okay, so I'm not going to go through that because I expect you all to be master foilers at this point, so we're going to move on. Number 3, or example 3, same thing, grouping those first two and the last two, and again, put that plus between because it's not we're not multiplying. What can I factor out of these first two? Well, 54 and 6 are both divisible by 6. I have x in both. Then I have z to the third and z to the second. I can take z to the second out of both. 54 divided by 6 is 9. That x came out. Z to the third, z to the second came out, which leaves me with z plus 6 divided by 6 is 1. X and x, that came out. And z squared came out, so I'm just going to put 1. Okay? So now I have negatives here, so I'm going to factor out negative for sure. I can divide by 2 into both of these. And I have z to the third and z to the second, so I can take z to the second out of both. So I'm left with 9z plus, because I took out the negatives, okay, that's why I changed to positives. 2 divided by 2 is 1. Z squared divided by z squared is 1, so I just have 1. And now with these two terms, I have 9z plus 1. That's the same in both. And that leaves me with 6xz squared minus 2z squared. This is my final answer. Okay. So, it wants you to check it. I would like for, again, pause at your own seat, and then 2 new people go to the board to show your work. Please pause at this time. Moving on. Again, same thing. We're just practicing that same skill. We're going to group the first 2 and the last 2 and put my plus between. And what I would like for you to do is I'd like for you to try and do this one on your own. So at this time, please pause the video so that they can practice on their own. Okay, so we'll do this one together so that you can check your answer. 5 and 3, nothing divides into those two evenly. I have x squared and x, I can take an x out. I have y and y, I can take a y out. So if I take xy out of the first, I get 5x. Minus, if I take xy out of the second one, I have 3. Then I have this negative and then a positive. I'm going to factor out the negative because I see that I have my negative here. And from 50 and 30, I can take out a 10, which leaves me with negative 50x divided by negative 10 gives me 5x. 30 divided by negative 10 gives me negative 3. So I have these two. Now I'm going to factor those out because they're the same, those quantities. And then that leaves me with xy minus 10. That's my final answer. I'm not going to make you check that one. Hopefully you get the point. What I want you to do is from lesson 87, I want you to do the practice set and problems 1 through 15. Okay? Practice set and problems 1 through 15. They'll be due and graded tomorrow. I hope that you have taken good notes and that you have a good night.